Huddles provide a rhythm of communication to keep everyone informed, involved, and engaged in moving the company forward. So think about your current staff meeting. Are goals discussed, and is everyone held accountable for tracking and reporting on their progress toward those goals? Do you discuss your wins and your losses? Are your wins celebrated, and is there any accountability for what you need to do differently to address your losses? Typically, there's a lack of communication and real commitment to do what we say we're going to do during a staff meeting. The huddle rhythm really develops that rhythm of communication and accountability. Think about a huddle for a Final Four basketball championship game. What do you see? What are the coaches doing? What are the players doing? We want to develop that same sense of urgency, alignment, and focus that you see during that huddle. And we want everyone to leave knowing exactly what they need to do in order to get the win. And so in order to really develop that huddle rhythm, we want to take a look at certain huddle guidelines that will make up the agenda for your huddle. And so this will really help you to create that fixed agenda with relevant content while being concise and swift with your communication. And so the first thing you want to do is make sure that your huddle starts on time, at the same day, every week. You also want to make sure that there is a guideline for how long the huddle lasts. And so typically 30 minutes is all you need to really check the score and get everyone on the same page. And so going through these different guidelines for your agenda, typically you'll always start by evaluating your game conditions. And so the huddle leader will always start, typically this is the CEO, especially in the very beginning. They want to be the ones that set the tone. They usually have the best view of the big picture of the organization. And so they're really going to give their perspective on what's happening within the company. It might even include a simple SWOT of what current opportunities and threats are facing that company right at this very moment. So once the theme and the tone is set, then you're going to check the score. And so this is really, as you go through your scoreboard, every single line item owner will be giving their forecast for where they think they're going to end the month for their particular lines. And you go just simply down the scoreboard, and you're going to be comparing during week 1 the forecast for where you're going to end the month compared to what you have budgeted for that month. And if there's more than a 10% variance, you're going to have a story as the line item owner for why. And so you're even going to say, if you're, for example, if it's a sales number and you're going 10% over, you're going to say why. The reason you're going to tell us why is so we could celebrate the success and we can learn from that success. But then the opposite is true. If you're 10% lower in your revenue line, you're going to say why. And you're also going to educate the group so that we can help you affect the number. And so celebrating the wins and discussing the losses is very important in this stage. After week 1, every single week following, you're just going to tell a story if it's different than the previous week. And this is really so that we can keep up with the changing game conditions and that we know if we need to be doing something differently to affect the number that particular week. So once you go through the entire scoreboard, you're then going to plan the next play. And so really the way we do this is by committing to one thing that we can be doing between now and next week's huddle to change the score. And so depending on the size of the organization and who is in the huddle at the time, you might go by department and have each department commit. You might have each person in the room commit to one thing. And so basically what you're going to do is have people think about what's one thing they could focus on based on the conditions of the current game that would move the score in a positive direction. That could be finding more revenue. It could be looking into how to address or lower a particular expense, or it could be just an efficiency measure that they could do. But the more you can educate through your stories when you're checking the score, the better idea that people have of what they can commit to at the very end. And the key is to develop this rhythm where you talk about what your commit was last week, and if you attained that, if you followed through with your commitment, and then you also give a new commit for the following week. So if I know that every week I have to report if I did what I said I was going to do the last week, I'm going to do it because I don't want to tell everyone that I just didn't get to the one thing that I thought was most important last week. And so this is really key. The last thing you want to do is close out your huddle by getting everyone fired up. You want the energy level to be high. You want everyone to be motivated. And so this is also a time where we do mini game updates. If we have a mini game going on, a lot of times those are our small wins and we can celebrate that incremental success at this point. But then the leader just wants to recap. What were the wins during this last week and who were the MVPs that really contributed the most to that win? And so individual recognition is key here because the whole game is a group effort. We're all going to win together or lose together. But this is an opportunity to recognize those individual players that were really going above and beyond. And hopefully that would motivate the others to pull their weight and get recognized the following week. So if you follow these guidelines to create your huddle agenda, then this will really help you develop an effective huddle communication for your company.